This is Dave Nasty over here at Next Level, and we're going to do some fun stuff today. We're going to be inspired by a fantastic guitar player, and we're going to take a little bit of a look here, or a really serious introduction, I should say, into understanding how the chords and how the chordal work of this artist is put together. You see that YouTube text box below? Well, there is a link in that text box, and if you click on that link that you see below in that text box, what are you going to get? Well, you're going to get a free ebook and coinciding lesson that is not available on YouTube. And in this ebook, you've got all kinds of chords and scale diagrams and very essential things that you need every day. All you got to do is just click on that link that you see below. Now, we're going to say real quickly that if you're lost at any given time with some of this information, we know Next Level Guitar has all the stuff you need. So if you need to understand scales and you say, or you hear me talking about a particular shape of scale, for the sake of this particular video, I'm going to get right into it. You can stop it and you can refer to the website and we'll be really good to go and everything will stay right on track. So grab your guitars, let's use our ears, and let's learn something completely different today, but very, very cool. So we're going to focus in the key of C major. Now, as it was explained to me, because I'm really, really lucky to actually know somebody that plays with this particular guitar player, and there's documentation on this. We're going to look at the key of C major, but we're not going to look at it in a way where we initially think of, you know, the scales in this kind of way. You know, typically when you play, and what I'm doing right now is I'm playing my quote-unquote diatonic scales in the key of C major, starting from my root, obviously. A lot of guitar players will do that. We'll say, hey, we're thinking of the key of C, so they'll go straight to that. We want to view the neck as a whole, right? And we want to be able to say from my lowest note to my highest note, I know how to play in the key of C major, and I don't have to necessarily start from my C to do that. So we want to start to understand that. And the other thing that we're going to really simply just abuse and start to love is that when you play this major scale, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes, and we start over again, right? Each one of these notes, let's imagine that these are all members of a family sitting on a couch. And at random times, you only ask a couple of them to stand up. Nobody gets offended. They're all family, and they're all related. So we're going to use this as a way and concept to make some interesting chords. So let's go for this. We're going to say in the key of C, we're going to go through our major and or minor chords, and we're going to focus on building some basic triads to start with. So, you know, in the key of C, we have an F major chord. So that means we could play that upper-ended extension or whatever of our F major. That's really, really simple. We have a G major chord. And that's really easy. We're going to use that one. We have an A minor. We're going to focus on that A minor shape like this. We're going to think of a dominant chord. That's a G dominant in this case. We're going to use these notes. Now, we're going to continue this idea as we go. In the key of C, you got a B minor as well. You've got your C major here. And then you have your D minor. So, all right, let's extend our pinkies and let's have a party. What we're going to do is we're going to show you some interesting ways to do this. Now, look at this. That is a ridiculous shape, and that is pretty hard to execute in the beginning, but we're going to give it a shot. I've still got my F major. Now I've put my ninth in the bottom. Now, to understand a little bit more, I'm going to keep going. I've got my G major this way. To understand a little bit more of this artist, we're going to take some basic structures that he uses and find out how he embellishes them in chord. And chord scales is what we're talking about. This would be like an A minor. We could use that same note in the bass for our dominant chord. We're going to get up to our C major. We're going to embellish our D minor. We're up here. And then look at, we've returned back to our F major. Now, these are all ninths that I'm putting on the 4th string in the bottom. What I want to do now is I want to take this idea and I want to embellish these chords by thinking of scales. Chord scales, we're mixing these guys together. They're all in the family, they're all related. So if I can take my this really nice sounding A minor chord. Now keep in mind, you know, this artist will use different ways to bring out tones and chords. volume pedals, different delays and reverbs and things like that. We're keeping it pretty straightforward. Now, if I'm in this position, in the key of C major, I've got a good knowledge of what my scales are. I'm going to think of it just like this. I'm going to say, in this region of the guitar, or this position of the guitar, I'm going to lead off my A. Well, I know that in the key of C major, major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. If I play my Aeolian shape from here, as we've learned by very passionately studying all the videos here at Next Level Guitar and getting into them, I know what that scale shape is. Well, I'm going to take something that is familiar, and I'm going to use these notes to embellish this in any way I can. That note's in the scale. That note's in the scale. Now, we could theoretically go through and break these things down and get to the verbiage of just driving ourselves absolutely nuts. But right now, I don't want to do that. I want to think very simply that off of these simple structures that we've taken from understanding and the obsessive compulsive disorder that I have with guitar, and I've gone through and I've worked with all these chords, we want to give you the skeletal form and make it easy for you. And say that if you're a fan of this artist and I know my scales, I can use these to come up with interesting sounds, right? And the modes and tones they create is a whole nother vibe altogether. And if we're comfortable with soloing, we could really make these things come out and be strong. Now, this is a major key type point of view. I've taken the C major scale and I've looked at it in a way of saying that I can take that C major scale, I can pick totally notes at random within the scale, and I'm going to form chords. And I'm not going to worry about what those chords are right now. I'm just going to listen to what they sound like. I can take any of these notes and make it work for myself. And from this artist, we can start very simply by using simple ideas, or they're not so simple, ideas of him, and ways that we've seen him release some of this information to us, because we know that it's hard to come by sometimes, and we get different interpretations of how people do these things. In this case, we've got a really neat sound. And all of these chords and embellishments can be soloed over through diatonic scales in the key of C major, and you can go through and really recognize some interesting tones, and this is working out of the major scale. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. This is how I spend my morning every day, with coffee, bending my brain. So I hope you enjoy it. Go to the website, and I will see you next time.